Imagine opening your eyes for the first time and realizing you were born inside a machine. Not a city, not a country, not a planet. A machine. Above you there is no blue sky. There is a ceiling. Below you there is no soil. There is a manufactured floor. Outside the walls there is no ocean, no forest, no wind, no rain, no sunrise in the way humans have known it for thousands of years. Outside, there is only blackness. And not just ordinary darkness. A darkness so large that your mind cannot measure it. A darkness between stars. A darkness where one tiny failure in oxygen, water, food, power, or human cooperation can end everything. This is not science fiction anymore. This is one of the most serious and disturbing ideas ever imagined for humanity's future. The generation ship. A spacecraft so huge that people are born inside it, live inside it, have children inside it, grow old inside it, and die inside it, without ever seeing the world their ancestors left behind, and without ever reaching the world their descendants are supposed to inherit. The first people who board the ship will never reach the destination. Their children will not reach it either. Maybe their grandchildren will not reach it. Maybe 10, 20, even 30 generations will live and die in the silence between stars before the ship finally arrives. And that raises one terrifying question. Would you sacrifice your entire life for a destination you will never see? Because tonight, we are not just talking about spaceships. We are talking about the future of the human species. We are talking about whether humanity can survive beyond Earth, and whether the price of that survival might be too horrifying to accept. For thousands of years, humans have looked at the stars and dreamed of reaching them. But the universe does not care about dreams. The universe is not built for human comfort. It is built on distances so enormous that even our fastest machines look painfully slow. The nearest star system to our Sun is Alpha Centauri, with Proxima Centauri as the closest star in that system. It is around 4.2 light-years away. That sounds small because we say it so easily, 4.2. But 1 light-year is the distance light travels in a full year, and light moves at nearly 186,000 miles per second. So when we say Proxima Centauri is 4.2 light-years away, we are talking about roughly 25 trillion miles. 25 trillion miles. Now compare that to what humans have actually built. Voyager 1, one of humanity's most legendary spacecraft, is moving at about 38,000 miles per hour relative to the Sun. That sounds fast, until you compare it with interstellar distance. At that speed, reaching another star would take tens of thousands of years. Even NASA's Parker Solar Probe, the fastest human-made object ever, reached about 430,000 miles per hour near the Sun. That is almost impossible to imagine. But even that incredible speed is still only a tiny fraction of the speed of light. This is the brutal truth. Our machines are fast by human standards, but painfully slow by cosmic standards. So scientists and futurists have proposed more extreme ideas. Nuclear pulse propulsion, where a spacecraft rides the shockwaves of controlled nuclear explosions. Fusion rockets, powered by the same basic process that fuels the stars. Antimatter engines, which could theoretically release enormous amounts of energy. Laser-pushed light sails, like the kind proposed for tiny robotic probes that might reach Alpha Centauri in just a few decades. But there is a problem. Many of these ideas work best for small machines, not for cities full of human beings. A tiny probe can be pushed to extreme speeds. A chip-sized spacecraft does not need farms, hospitals, schools, families, water recycling, artificial gravity, spare parts, and a political system. But a generation ship does. A generation ship is not just a spacecraft, it is a complete civilization trapped inside a moving structure. And that is where the dream becomes terrifying. To send humans across interstellar space, The ship must carry everything required for life. Not for months, not for years, not even for decades, for centuries. It needs food production, water recycling, oxygen recycling, waste management, medical systems, power generation, artificial gravity, radiation shielding, manufacturing, education, law, culture, mental health support, population control, conflict resolution. In other words, it must become a miniature Earth. But unlike Earth, it has no oceans, no forests, no atmosphere, no magnetic field, no natural ecosystem to forgive human mistakes. On Earth, if one farm fails, food can come from somewhere else. If one city loses power, another city still functions. If one hospital runs out of supplies, help can arrive. On a generation ship, there is no somewhere else. If the water system fails, the ship dies. If the oxygen system fails, the ship dies. If food production collapses, the ship dies. If the society inside the ship turns against itself, the ship dies. Everything must work. Not once, not for a test mission, not for a few years. Everything must work for hundreds of years. That alone may be harder than building the ship itself. In recent years, serious researchers have started exploring this problem again. Project Hyperion, for example, challenged teams to imagine generation ships capable of supporting around 1,000 people for centuries, using artificial gravity, closed life support systems, social structures, and long-term knowledge transfer. And that detail matters, knowledge transfer. Because on a generation ship, technology is not enough. People must understand the technology. Imagine the ship launches with brilliant engineers, doctors, agricultural experts, biologists, and technicians. The first generation knows why every system works. They trained on Earth. They understand the original design. They know what every alarm means. But after 100 years, they are gone. After 200 years, even their children are gone. After 500 years, the people maintaining the ship may be following instructions written by ancestors they never met, in language that may have changed, using tools repaired and rebuilt countless times. They may know what buttons to press, but do they still understand why? That is dangerous, because a checklist can save you from a known problem, but it cannot save you from a problem nobody predicted. And in deep space, the one problem nobody predicted may be the one that kills everyone. Now think about the ship's physical structure. The habitat may rotate to create artificial gravity. This could help prevent the bone loss and muscle weakening that astronauts experience in microgravity. But rotation creates stress. Metal fatigues, bearings wear down, seals crack, electronics degrade, radiation slowly damages materials. Every machine has a lifespan. On Earth, when a machine breaks, we replace it. On a generation ship, there is no delivery, no warehouse, no emergency shipment, no factory on another continent. The ship must manufacture its own replacement parts. That means it must carry raw materials, recycling systems, machine shops, 3D printers, precision tools, and people trained to use them. Every broken component must be recycled. Every wasted material matters. But recycling is never perfect. Over centuries, small losses become large losses. Small impurities accumulate. Small repairs become weak points. A ship that began as a perfect machine may become, after 500 years, a patched-together world held alive by exhausted people and aging systems. And then there is radiation. On Earth, we are protected by our atmosphere and magnetic field. In interstellar space, the ship is exposed to cosmic rays and high-energy particles. These can damage DNA, increase cancer risk, affect the brain, and slowly harm future generations. So the ship needs shielding. Water can help, certain plastics can help, thick layers of material can help. But shielding adds mass. More mass means more energy required to accelerate. More energy means more fuel, more complexity, more cost. Every solution creates a new problem. If you make the ship safer, it becomes heavier. If it becomes heavier, it becomes harder to move. If you reduce safety to make it lighter, one accident can destroy the mission. This is the nightmare equation of interstellar travel. Survival always has a price. And the human price may be even greater than the engineering price. Picture a child born on the ship 200 years after launch. That child has never seen Earth. Earth is not home. Earth is a story, a picture, a myth from old recordings. The child learns about oceans, but has never touched an ocean. Learns about forests, but has never smelled wet soil after rain. Learns about mountains, but has never stood beneath an open sky. Their entire universe is corridors, farms under artificial light, recycled air, rotating floors, controlled temperatures, scheduled resources, and the constant background hum of life support systems. And from childhood, they are told, "You are part of a mission." But what if they do not want the mission? What if they ask, "Why should I give my life to a decision my ancestors made?" That is where generation ships become ethically disturbing. The first crew chooses to leave Earth. They understand the sacrifice. But their children? They do not choose. Their grandchildren do not choose. Every generation after them is born into a mission they never agreed to. They cannot leave. They cannot go home. They cannot step outside. Their entire existence is controlled by a goal that may not be completed for hundreds of years. Some people may find meaning in that. They may see themselves as guardians of humanity's future. They may feel proud to protect the chain of life across the stars. But others will feel trapped, and trapped people become dangerous. Not because they are evil, because they are human. Humans need freedom. Humans need purpose. Humans need novelty. Humans need the feeling that their choices matter. On a generation ship, choice will always be limited. You may not get to choose your job. The ship needs engineers, farmers, doctors, technicians, teachers, maintenance workers. If the ship needs you in agriculture, your dream of becoming an artist may not matter. If the ship needs doctors, your child may be trained for medicine whether they love it or not. The society must serve survival first. But if survival becomes the only purpose, people begin to feel like parts of a machine. And people who feel like parts of a machine eventually stop caring whether the machine survives. This is why mental health may be one of the most important systems on a generation ship. Not engines, not reactors, not shields. Mental health. Because if morale collapses, everything else follows. Depression spreads, work quality drops, maintenance is ignored, conflicts increase. People stop believing in the mission. And once a society loses belief in its own future, it becomes fragile. Now add another problem: population. A generation ship needs children. Without children, the mission ends. But it cannot have too many children, because resources are limited. Food, water, oxygen, living space, medical care, everything has a maximum capacity. So someone must control reproduction. That is one of the darkest parts of this idea. Who gets to have children? How many? When? Do couples need permission? Is there a lottery? Is it based on genetics, health, skills, social contribution? Every option is dangerous. A lottery may feel fair, but it can break people emotionally if they wait years for permission to start a family. A merit system may seem practical, but it creates a terrifying question: who is worthy of having children? A genetic system may protect the long-term health of the population, but it can become eugenics if power is abused. And if someone breaks the rules, what happens? Do you punish the parents, the child, the community? On Earth, reproductive freedom is personal. On a generation ship, reproduction becomes a survival calculation. That single issue alone could tear the society apart. Then there is governance. Who rules a generation ship? A captain? A council? A democracy? A technical elite? At launch, the structure may be clear, but after 100 years, the original leaders are gone. After 200 years, the society has changed. After 500 years, the ship may no longer resemble the culture that launched it. Language changes, beliefs change, priorities change. The people on board may stop thinking of themselves as humans from Earth and start thinking of themselves as people of the ship. And if their identity changes, their loyalty may change too. They may ask, why are we still going to this planet? Why not stay in space? Why not change course? Why should the dead decide the future of the living? That is mission drift, and it may be impossible to prevent. You can preserve old recordings, you can teach history, you can hold ceremonies, you can tell stories about Earth and the destination. But culture is alive. It evolves, it mutates, it adapts to its environment. And the environment of a generation ship is unlike anything humans have ever experienced. Over time, the ship's society may become something new, maybe stronger, maybe stranger, maybe more united, or maybe more divided. Religion could become a powerful force. It might give people meaning, rituals, comfort, and hope. It might help them endure a life of confinement. But religion could also split the ship into factions. One group may believe the mission is sacred. Another may believe the ship itself is home. Another may believe landing on a new planet is a betrayal of their ancestors. Another may believe genetic engineering is forbidden, even if it is needed to prevent disease. On Earth, societies can separate, people can migrate, cultures can spread out. On a generation ship, everyone is locked together. There is no distance to cool hatred, no border to cross, no escape. One ideological conflict can become a civil war inside a sealed container. And in a sealed container, civil war is not just political, it is mechanical. A fight can damage oxygen systems, a fire can poison the air, sabotage can shut down power. A single violent faction could destroy the ship and everyone inside it. So the ship needs law enforcement. But law enforcement cannot become oppression. It needs democracy. But democracy cannot ignore technical reality. It needs experts. But experts cannot become an untouchable ruling class. The ship must balance freedom and survival perfectly, for centuries. No human society has ever done that perfectly, and yet a generation ship would demand it. Now, let's talk about arrival. Because in most stories, arrival is the happy ending. The ship reaches the star, the planet appears, people cry, music rises, the doors open, humanity steps onto a new world. But the real ending would be much more frightening. After hundreds of years in space, the people on board may not be physically or psychologically prepared for a planet. If artificial gravity was lower than Earth's, their bones and muscles may be weaker. If they lived in sterile environments, their immune systems may be vulnerable. If they never experienced weather, open landscapes, animals, insects, storms, bacteria, or natural ecosystems, the planet may feel less like paradise and more like an alien threat. Imagine being the first person to step outside. For your entire life, every breath has been filtered, every surface has been cleaned, every temperature has been controlled, every sound has been familiar. Then the hatch opens. Real wind hits your face. The sky is enormous. The ground is uneven. The air smells alive. And somewhere in the distance, something moves. Would you feel wonder or terror? Some people may refuse to leave the ship. To them, the ship is home. The planet is the unknown. Their ancestors may have dreamed of soil and sky, but they dreamed of corridors and artificial light because that is what they knew. So even after reaching the destination, the society could split. One group wants to settle the planet, another wants to remain in orbit. The settlers need tools, supplies, and people. The ship dwellers do not want to give them up. And suddenly, after centuries of survival, humanity's first interstellar colony could fracture before it even begins. And what if the planet is not what they expected? This may be the most terrifying possibility of all. From Earth, we can detect exoplanets. We can estimate size, orbit, atmosphere, temperature. NASA's catalogue now includes thousands of confirmed worlds, and new discoveries continue to appear. But seeing a planet from light years away is not the same as knowing it. A planet can look promising and still be deadly. Maybe the atmosphere contains toxins. Maybe the soil cannot grow human crops. Maybe the planet has no magnetic field and radiation bombards the surface. Maybe the water is chemically dangerous. Maybe native microbes attack human biology. Maybe the world is technically habitable, but practically impossible to colonize. And if the ship arrives after 800 years and discovers the planet is wrong, what then? There is no return ticket. Earth is centuries behind. Another star is centuries away. The ship may not have enough fuel, resources, or structural life left to keep searching. That would mean generations of sacrifice were based on a mistake. A civilization born in transit would arrive at a dead end. That is not just failure, that is cosmic tragedy. And then there is the most ironic possibility. The ship arrives too late. Imagine a generation ship leaves Earth using the best technology of its time. The journey will take 700 years. The crew accepts it. Their descendants keep the mission alive. But 200 years later, Earth invents a faster propulsion system. A newer ship launches. It overtakes the old generation ship. It reaches the destination first. It builds a colony. Centuries later, the original generation ship finally arrives and finds humans already there. The passengers are not pioneers anymore. They are relics. Their ancestors sacrificed everything for a mission that technology made obsolete. What would that do to a society? How do you explain to generation after generation that their suffering mattered, only for them to arrive and discover that history passed them by? This is one of the cruelest risks of generation ships. They may be heroic when launched and outdated before arrival. So why consider them at all? Because Earth is fragile. One planet, one atmosphere, one biosphere, one home. Asteroids, supervolcanoes, nuclear war, engineered pandemics, climate disasters, unknown cosmic threats. Humanity's entire story currently depends on one world staying safe. If life remains trapped on Earth forever, then one global catastrophe could end everything. Generation ships represent a brutal kind of insurance. Not easy, not clean, not romantic. Brutal. They say, if we cannot move fast enough to reach the stars in one lifetime, maybe we can build a world that moves slowly and carries our descendants forward. Maybe survival is not about one heroic crew. Maybe it is about a chain. A chain of parents, children, teachers, farmers, engineers, doctors, artists, and dreamers, all keeping the flame alive in the darkness. That idea is beautiful and horrifying because it asks something almost impossible. Live your whole life for people you will never meet. Protect a destination you will never see. Accept confinement so your descendants may one day know freedom. Is that noble or cruel? Maybe it is both. Maybe that is what makes generation ships so powerful. They reveal the deepest conflict inside humanity. We want to survive, but we want freedom. We want to explore, but we fear the unknown. We want to build a future, but we do not want to sacrifice the present. We dream of the stars, but the stars demand a price. And the price may not be money, it may not be metal, it may not even be energy. The real price may be generations of human lives spent inside a moving world, surrounded by darkness, trusting that the dream was worth it. So the next time you look at the night sky, remember this. Those stars are not just lights, they are distances, they are challenges, they are questions. And one day, if humanity survives long enough, someone may stand before a ship larger than any city ever built, knowing that boarding it means never returning, never arriving, and never seeing the ending. They will step inside anyway. The doors will close, Earth will shrink behind them, the sun will become just another star, and somewhere in the dark, a new chapter of humanity will begin. But before that day comes, we have to answer the question nobody can avoid. Would you go? Would you board a generation ship, knowing you would never see the destination? Would you allow your children to be born inside it? Would you trade one lifetime of freedom for the chance that your descendants might walk under an alien sky? Or would you stay on Earth, choosing the fragile beauty of the world we already have? There is no easy answer, and maybe that is the real terrifying truth about generation ships. They are not terrifying because they are impossible. They are terrifying because one day they might be possible. And if they become possible, humanity will have to decide what kind of future it is willing to pay for. So what do you think? Would you go, or would you stay behind? If this journey made you think differently about humanity's future, make sure to like this video, share it with someone who loves space mysteries, and subscribe for more deep explorations like this. And don't leave yet. Watch the next video, because the next question may be even darker. If humans ever reach another world, will we still be human when we get there?